Hello and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2. We're here on one of our high-speed trains heading towards Downey, which is where the topic of this video is going to take place. So here we're going to identify a location for a new distribution center to serve both Downey and San Jose here. And I believe these are the last two cities needed to have all of our resources going to every city on the map. And so after taking a look at all of our other cities, there are a few that aren't getting some specific resources, such as Sacramento's not really getting a lot. Sacramento might be interesting because we might potentially play around with bringing stuff in by plane. That might get a little tricky to squeeze into our current cargo hub, but Sacramento is still receiving at least one or two resources, I believe. However, I believe San Jose is pretty much one of our... Well, San Jose and Downey are our least developed cities in terms of the resources that they're getting. So anyway, before we get to planning and laying out this distribution center, I want to go around and make sure some of the updates that we've made recently are working and there's no major issues that have popped up that we need to fix. So let's start off here up in Birmingham, as we've done quite a few updates in this city pretty recently, so we can come through and take a look at those and maybe evaluate what's going on here. So first of all, we have quite a lot of people waiting at the train station, and this seems to be our Jackson to Birmingham line. So this is just the train that takes us right into the capital here, and we have a decent amount of demand running the other way. I think I don't want to just add another train because I still want to be conscious about our train traffic, but I think maybe we'll take a look at upgrading these trains and giving them some higher capacity, just so they can handle things on the Birmingham end of it. Alright, so this is the train that I think we're going to replace it with. It is a, I believe, HHP8 engine with 8 of these passenger cars behind it, these TVZ 614447 cars. We get about 30 more capacity, and I believe it's about the same power rating. So speed shouldn't factor into it too much. Yeah, we can see here it's almost exactly the same. So we'll just replace these. I think it's about, if not slightly cheaper than the old trains as well. We'll just go ahead and find this one real quick just so we can get an idea of what it looks like. So here's what this train looks like. I think it's a pretty good looking train, especially for an electric train. I kind of like all the cars behind it, but hopefully that should be doing just fine, and we'll start to see the numbers begin to dwindle up here in Birmingham. So next, I just want to check in on our demand for the airport line. We can see that based on these charts numbers, and it looks alright. The number's not terribly high, which I guess makes sense. I mean, planes are just so hard to make work on this type of map, especially with it being pretty small. So I think next that means we'll come in here, and I think we're going to adjust the amount of planes we have on some of these lines. So we'll cut this in half. Same for this line. I think we'll sell one of the planes. I don't want to go any lower than 2 planes, just so we sort of have some kind of frequency on these lines. But we definitely didn't need as much as we had before. Now, there could be ways to improve the airport. We could have multiple lines coming up here. For example, we have this loop here, which might not actually be too hard to just move this station here and then have the airport as part of the loop. And I'm not entirely opposed to that, so maybe let's take a look at that and entertain that idea for just a little bit. So hopefully, I think the way this will work is we'll delete that stop. We'll come in here and just move it up to right around here. And it doesn't look like that should take away any coverage from where we were before. And then just for the sake of connectivity, I think we're going to delete this road. And we'll replace it with a road that pretty much directly connects to here. Although, that is definitely way too steep, so let's see if maybe we can take a slightly different approach to doing this. And it seems like we can get this to fit in right here, although that slope is very sketchy and I maybe wouldn't trust it in real life, but I suppose we'll roll with it here. We'll just straighten out the connection. Maybe bring it all the way up. So now we have that. That makes this loop a little bit easier to connect. And we'll just have to come in, manage the lines. And we'll add the airport into this loop, and it looks like it routed correctly. So then we just have to do the same in the opposite direction. And hopefully that will help drive numbers up heading towards the airport. Alright, and then lastly, in Birmingham, we added a bunch of new lines here. And we just want to make sure that the trucks are coming in and grabbing the resources that they need to in the amount that they need to. And so looking here, it seems like most of the platforms are doing well, but we do have these two in the middle that seem to be a little full at the moment. So maybe there's something we can look into there. We'll have to do it in a way that won't add too many more vehicles, since, as we can see here, it's starting to get a little bit busy coming in and out of this truck station. And so it largely seems that this platform here, which appears to be just Birmingham Truck 2, we could probably get a few more trucks running this line. So maybe 2 more. I don't want to do too many to the point where we're wasting our money running empty trucks, but we definitely don't want this to get too full. Alright, and so now that this is running a little bit better now, I think we can leave Birmingham and move on to the next few things we'll look at, and then we'll get back to our distribution center. Alright, and then I wanted to come back to Santa Clarita, where we made a lot of changes with the bus network and traffic patterns, and we can still see here that despite some of the changes we made, we're still dealing with a lot of this traffic trying to get out of the city. And it makes sense, as this is really the only road that anyone can come in or out of the city on in this direction. So I think what we're going to try to do is maybe right off of this corner, get a road that sort of follows down the hill here, and then maybe we can connect it up either down here or have a connection across the tracks. But I think having that connection will help, especially with all of these people up in this area, being able to get out of the city just a little bit faster. So we'll start here, and we'll come off of this road, and then we'll slowly work our way down. We'll try to do this in a pretty nice and orderly way that sort of follows the hillside here and doesn't look too terrible. Alright, so now we have this road here that slowly comes down and across, and then it connects to this road here. I'm a little hesitant to create more intersections along this road, although the city will probably try to force itself to do it anyway. But we'll come through, smooth out and fix up the terrain along this hillside, and then hopefully in a few minutes we'll start to see some cars prioritizing this road. So checking our destinations layer, we are starting to see this number slowly rise up. So hopefully that'll help alleviate some of the traffic going on here and finally allow our buses to run at a better efficiency, since they're all sort of stuck in traffic at the moment. And then one last adjustment that we're going to make is involving this train station and the farm. So something interesting that happened here was I never realized that this train station was just so close to this farm that it automatically connected. So having this truck station is completely useless. So we'll just get rid of these trucks. We'll get rid of the line as well. And then we can just delete this truck stop and we'll patch up the terrain, but there was really no need for that truck stop in the first place. So now that we have that fixed, we shouldn't really have any issues with that truck line not producing any money, and everything else in this area should be running just fine still. Alright, so now figuring out where our new distribution center is going to be, I think the best spot for it is pretty much right about here-ish. We can pretty much flatten out this whole area up here and then go into each city from that point. I briefly thought about putting it here as sort of an extension of the oil refinery and everything else, but I don't really think that we need to do that, since that would pretty much get in the way of our passenger line intersection that we have going on here. So I think just coming up here, dropping everything off, and then by truck, which we'll have to figure out the best way to get into each city by truck, but once we do that, we can pretty much just go from there. Alright, so I think we'll start off by placing all of our stations and everything, and we do have this set of tracks here that comes from the cargo hub, so we'll probably branch off of this set of tracks, come into somewhere here, and that's where our whole complex is going to be. Alright, and so we will start building out this area, and I think first we will just line up our train station, and that will sort of serve as the basis of how we go on from here. And so I think we'll get a nice long terminus station placed generally in the right direction. I think maybe we want to rotate it ever so slightly more. So we end up with something sort of like this. And then since we just have this placed here, we can replace the cargo building with something a little bit bigger and something that fits the aesthetic a bit better. And then we'll just come through, add a few of these buildings just to add on to that. And now that we have this, we will flatten out our area and start designing where all of our stations are going to be. So we'll start out with a nice straight road across the front, like so. We will keep these straight going out for a little bit, so maybe we can use those as guides later. And then on each side we'll have a road coming across like so. We'll get this as close as we can to these buildings. Alright, so here's sort of a nice basis of our design. So we have 2 warehouses down here just to sort of add some more interest to this end of the station. We'll fill this area in with asphalt, same over here, and fill it with storage and cranes and other stuff. And then I think down here's where our truck stations are going to sit. So the one for San Jose will sit over here, and the ones for Downey will sit over here. And then right along, centered on here, will be our main central warehouse, sort of the large administration building to this larger center. And then I think that will be pretty much the layout that we'll use for this area. Alright, so I think this is going to be our truck stations and buildings all placed down. I'll leave the detailing because I think we will get to the detailing in the next video, since this is going to take a while to set everything up. So we'll get everything functioning, or at least all the stations and stops set up in each city, and potentially the train. I don't think we'll set up the truck lines in this video. We'll start off the next video with that. Same with the detailing, but we'll bring the train line over. We will connect our roads, and we'll probably place our truck stops in each city, and we'll end it off with that. And so with our tracks, we'll want to break away off of that set as easily as possible. So I think we'll break off like this in sort of that direction. We'll pull this set of tracks along with it, and then hopefully it should just be as easy as extending this all the way over to the station. We'll see how our tracks align with that. So I'm not the biggest fan of that. We will extend these tracks straight out for a bit, just so we get that extra length in case if we need it. We'll go out just a bit more, like so. And then I think at this point, we will attempt to just auto-connect these tracks. And so we end up with something that looks like this. It cuts into the ground quite a bit in this area. So we'll just come through with our flatten tool and make this gap a little bit wider, and then we'll come back through and smooth it out. Alright, so now we have that looking a little bit better. We can create our crossing tracks, although we probably won't need it here as there won't be that much traffic. And that should be our track setup. When we set up our train, we'll go through the process of upgrading that whole line and everything else. But let's now get our roads connected and then get our truck stops down. And so I think what I want to do, at least for San Jose, is, well, first of all, we'll clear up some of these intersections, and we will lock this road. But I think we'll come off of this road here, as this will give us a pretty straight shot into the city. This road here at our oil well is a good one to connect to as well, but I think I want to avoid doing that because we already have a bunch of trucks coming in here, and if this road ever gets busy again, we might not be able to get our trucks in and out of the city too well. So we will come off the end here. We'll use the large country road as the city might not extend out this far, so we can get some extra speed on our trucks for a little bit. And then once we pretty much reach this point, we can just carry along like so. And we'll want to, I suppose, cross at a spot where we won't get too terrible terrain crossing the railroad tracks. So we'll build that, continue to come through here, and then I think we'll squeeze under this bridge if possible. I think that's enough height, so we'll build there. And then I think it's just as easy as ramping up this hill and then connecting to this road. And so I'm not too sure where we want to downgrade this road to just a medium country road, but we'll leave it like this, and I think we'll deal with that when we get to the detailing portion of it. And then the last connection we have to make is from here to Downey, and figuring out how we're going to do that is going to be pretty interesting because we'll have to cross this highway at some point. So I think we'll come off of one of these roads here, and for this we'll just use a medium country road as it doesn't need to be anything too big or spectacular. So we'll build that road, and then we'll have to work our way down the hill a little bit since this is a pretty steep slope. Alright, so then this is our road connection for Downey. We'll make sure that this connects better across everything once we actually get into setting up these lines, since we'll have a lot of trucks coming across just this one road. But for now, I think this is a pretty good spot to leave this video. So again, the next video will involve the bulk of detailing this area, setting up the lines, and making sure the resources are going where they need to. And then that should be almost all of our cities getting almost every resource. I think after that point we will go through and make sure each city is getting all of the resources it needs, and then from there it's pretty much just optimizing all of our routes and the efficiency of everything else. Alright, so with that, that's going to be all for this video. So if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.